There's a very particular kind of loneliness that comes with finding a job, particularly when you don't have one, when all your friends have jobs, your family members work, and it just seems like you're the only person who has nowhere to go and nothing to do. And it can really grind on you.
I am not good enough.
It can affect your mental health. It can make you feel like there's something wrong with you. When you're trying to find a job in tough times, sometimes you just want somebody to give you the instruction manual where you can go, okay, that's the thing that I'm doing wrong. Because sometimes isn't that the most frustrating part of the process? You don't actually know what's wrong. You don't know what you're not doing. And you can watch as many YouTube videos as you like, read as many Reddit posts, but there's no one there to tell you what you're doing wrong. And it starts to feel a little bit hopeless. This video is for you. This video is to give you a bit of hope and just share my experience with you, helping people who are hopeless find jobs in difficult times. So I want to tell you a story of just one person that I've worked with, and it was all the way back in 2020. Can you remember what happened in 2020?
And now that we're all wearing masks all the time, there's an astounding amount of information that you can get out of looking at people's eyes.
I had not long got back from Asia, and I thought it'd be a great idea to start a little business called Job Ready English. And the business model was pretty simple. I would use the skills that I had already learned over the past 6 or 7 years to coach international students into jobs. I started the business in February 2020, and in April 2020, a young lady who I will call Mandy contacted me for a friend and said, my friend had heard about you at a different company that you worked at. I really need help finding a job. And I said, cool, no problem. She came from a great university. She had a good background, and I thought it was a bit of a no-brainer. And then it happened. I don't know about you, but I'd never been through anything like I was freaking out because I couldn't afford to give her her money back. I'd literally just spent it on a website for Job Ready English.
Where's my money?
And I wanted to get her a result because that's what I promised to do.
Where the fuck is my money?
But how was I going to do that when pretty much overnight smashed the jobs market? It was like 70–80% less jobs almost within the space of 30 days. Well, I pretty much used the same steps that I'd used before and that I use now, and that I'm going to talk you through today. Most of the resources that I'm talking about you can find down in the description below in Application Success Secrets, which gives you everything you need to get your first interview, and it's completely free because I want to help.
It's free real estate.
So what I want to do is walk you through a process that saw her get a job in 2 months. You're more than entitled to turn around and think, well, okay, yeah, but you would say that, or how do I even know that this is legit? All I can share with you is my experience of helping people over a long period of time through great difficulties. And the majority of my time has been helping people specifically who need work visas, which makes it more difficult actually, because it's not just about getting the job, it's about applying for a smaller pool of jobs which are higher paid that allow people to get work visas. And I want to offer you these steps today because you're probably having a difficult time. It is so hard on the mind and on your pride, your self-esteem, when you're looking for a job day after day, and it just seems like it's not even that people are rejecting you all the time, no one's getting back to you. Because I speak to people like you on a regular basis. Now, parts of this video is targeted at people who are going for graduate jobs. That's where you might hear me mention online tests. It works just as well for somebody who has a bit of work experience behind them, or maybe you're looking to change careers. And I've pretty much used the same methodology for 10 years, and it's put me in good stead. Nothing that I share today is rocket science. Nothing is there where you couldn't go off and do it by yourself. But what I find is there are lots of interesting lessons that I have learned and that I have shared with my clients, and they have that aha moment where they think, oh God, yeah, I should have done that. I could have got there faster if I'd known those things. And I really hope that it helps you. I'd love to get to know you better. I'd really like to know your story. Drop me a comment down below and let me know what brings you to this video. Because intrinsically, one of the reasons why I love Job Read English is because I get to help people who really need to be helped. And that's something that's really important to me. So let's jump into the methodology that I went through that helped Mandy get a job in 60 days and how that could help you starting from today. So what's the first thing that you think about when you start looking for a job? It's probably doing your CV, starting to send out job applications, registering on jobs boards, maybe getting a new email address because you've still got the same email that you got when you were 13 and it's like Goofy McDuck 97.
Email address is cheesewiener@gmail.com.
But actually the best thing and the simplest thing to do, which almost everybody forgets, is planning. Now the chances are, if you're watching this video, you have a life, and in your life you have other things that you do. Maybe you have a partner, maybe you have friends, maybe you go to school, university, college, maybe you have a job, a full-time job, a part-time job. You might have kids, you need to do housework, go food shopping, have hobbies, drink booze, whatever you do. So you do lots of things. Now you need to find a job, but you also want to do all these things. But in my experience, most people will delay finding a job, or they will do low value activities. And what I mean by that is it is very easy to sit on LinkedIn for 20 minutes, spend 15 minutes reading completely useless posts from people who you don't even know about, or maybe you're spending that time just getting really jealous about Fred and Susan, who seem to be a lot further on than you, and you can't understand why because you think they're complete and utter morons. And then you go, oh my God, I haven't applied for any jobs. And you just randomly apply for a couple of jobs. Now there's a couple of things here. First of all, how long should you dedicate to finding a job each week? Now, I want to share this because I've worked with hundreds of people one-to-one. And how long do you think it is? I'd be interested to know if you drop me a comment down below. It's not that long, about an hour a day, about 7 hours a week. 7 to 10 hours a week is about right. More than that, it starts to get a little... Now, this could increase once you understand the strategy, the what to do. You could increase that. You can increase the number of applications or interviews or online tests that you're doing. But I find that there is a ceiling for what you need to do. And above that ceiling, which is probably 15, 20 hours a week, people start to feel a bit not so good.
That's a bummer. Okay.
They start to feel like they want to smash their laptop into 1,000 pieces. So we need to go and do something else, whether that be, if you're literally just looking for a job, it could just be exercising daily. It could be doing some volunteering at a local charity shop. Just getting out and getting a little bit more color to your life. I'm also providing things which don't cost any money, because I think sometimes there is that naivete about people saying, how about you just go to the spa or do this or do that? And you're like, I have a job. And you're like, I don't have a job. I'm poor. How am I going to afford to do all that stuff? You're an idiot.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
So what do I mean by planning? So this is about figuring out the precise times when you're going to look for a job and scheduling that into your calendar. So that could be the calendar in your phone. It could be a paper calendar. Whatever it is, if it gets scheduled, it's going to get done. Now, I suggest you follow something which I like to do, which is called eating the frog. Eating the frog, which means doing the hardest thing first. Now, initially, the what to do is something that I'll go through with you, but just plan. It doesn't have to be an hour a day. It could be 3 hours twice a week, or it could be 1 full day. This is unlikely. It's probably not going to be as helpful. Now, the reason being is that what we're going to do next is make a plan, and the plan will give us everything that we need so that when we sit down to look for a job, we know exactly what we're doing. Because I bet that most of the time when you sit down to look for a job, you've got no idea what you're doing.
What? Why?
Why? You're just kind of making it up as you go along. I know most people, when I speak to them, they just say, well, I just go on Indeed and LinkedIn and Monster and CV Library and just apply for jobs until I basically get sick and tired of that, and then I go off and eat lunch. Now that's fine, but it's kind of like throwing darts in the dark and hoping to hit a bullseye. It might happen, but it's probably not going to happen, and you'll give up way before it does happen because it's just way too frustrating. Which brings me on to my next step. Now, in application success secrets, there is a application planner. You might say, I don't care what job that I get. I just want a job. I just need any job. I'll do anything. Well, if you want anything, then you're probably going to spend a lot of wasted time just trying to find things that are kind of like you, what you want to do, but no, you probably can't be the CEO of that company. Do you get what I'm saying? You're like, could I be a mechanical engineer? No, probably not, because you didn't study that. What I encourage you to do instead is to use the planner and spend one afternoon. You could even do that today. Pause the video, sit there and do that. And literally just write out 50 companies that you want to work for based around the roles that you would like to do. Now, initially, I recommend you don't choose more than 2 or 3 roles. Now, it could just be administration. It could be a financial analyst. It could be an accountant. It could be a teaching assistant. It could be a pizza delivery driver. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Because what we're doing is we're putting something all into one place. So we know that we've applied to Pizza Go-Go, but we could still apply to Pizza Hut, Papa John's and Domino's. We're not sitting there and trying to use our brain to remember where we were 4 days ago when we last sent a job application, because so much has happened in between.
What happened?
Now, just so you know, when people book one-to-one sessions with me, I almost always ask them if they want general strategy advice and say, can I see your application plan? Or can I see a record of the applications that you've done? And they say, what are you talking about? I don't have one. I've maybe had like 2 out of 100 people on average be able to give that to me. And for the person who's turning around saying, well, I apply for thousands of jobs, millions of jobs. Number one, no, you don't. No, you haven't applied for millions of. Show me all those jobs, right? And also, what are you doing? If you've applied for 1,000 jobs and gotten nowhere, dude, what you're doing doesn't work. Stop doing that.
Stop. Seriously, stop.
I've had somebody come and visit me and be really angry because they applied for 2,000 jobs and got nowhere. Didn't even get a single interview. And when I sat down and said, why didn't you just stop after 100? He was like, I don't know. He's like, because surely after 100 times of doing the same thing and getting no result, don't you think something doesn't work? Like I'm punching the nail into a brick and it's not going in and it really hurts. Maybe my fist is not the right tool for the nail. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that you're wrong. This will save you a lot of time. And in fact, a lot of people's pride and ego will stop them from admitting that they're wrong and asking for help, and just get them to waste loads and loads of time and blame the system. Oh, the system is racist. It doesn't like me because I have a nose. And dude, okay, the system's racist. Now what? You're right. Now what do we do? We're just gonna have to get on with it, aren't we? So I want you to sit down, do the 50 companies, follow the application template, and importantly, I want the URL of the company's career site. I do not want you applying through jobs from LinkedIn, Indeed, Apply AI, superduperplanner.com. All of that stuff is no good, in my experience. Other people might have had a different experience. If so, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know how wrong I am and how amazing these tools are. And I'll explain why a little bit later on, but we want to apply directly to the careers website. So now that we've done that, it's been an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Finally, you're going, why 50 companies? Because it stretches the mind. It gives you basically 2-3 months of things to do ahead of you. Now you have one document, one place, so that every time when you return to the thing that you're doing, you know exactly what to do next and you reduce the friction. You know who you've applied to, who you have to apply to, who you've got to chase up on. It's all there in one place. Next thing, what I want you to do is to get your CV done. Now there is a free template in Application Success Secrets, but the basic lesson is your CV needs to be tailored for the different jobs that you're applying to. And we only do this in one part. We have a little section which comes just under each of the jobs and then the bullet points of what you've done, and then it has key skills learned, and we tailor it to each of the job descriptions. Now, to be honest, look, if you're applying for a financial analyst, the job descriptions are pretty much the same. You might want to look at a couple and just make sure. And you can also use what's called an ATS resume. You can also use a piece of software which scans your CV and matches it up to a job description and shows you how closely they match. I personally prefer JobScan. There are lots of different pieces of software out there. I'm not affiliated with any of them. I don't use affiliate links, but JobScan is what I've used for quite a long time, probably since 2021, and it's really easy to use. It's not the cheapest. I think it costs something like 30 or 40 pounds a month, but it is brilliant. Bearing in mind, understanding the mechanics of how companies operate. Back in the day, 50 years ago, you would have gone and given your job application to Steve, your CV, your cover letter. Steve would actually sit there and read it, right? And he goes, this looks good, this looks bad. Fast forward to now, it doesn't really happen as much. It might still happen in small and medium-sized enterprises, but what's the chance of you actually seeing someone to give your CV and your cover letter? So now what you have are things which are called application tracking systems, the biggest of which is called Talio.net. But there are loads of them, hundreds of them now. And what they do is that basically they scan the CV, the cover letter, the open application questions, and they give your application a score. And they say, look, these are the best CVs. These are the ones that are the closest match based upon the criteria. And a lot of that criteria is going to be based around the job description. So what I find with a lot of people who basically say to me, I'm not getting anywhere, I've sent off loads of CVs, and then I look at the CV and I look at the job description, I'm like, these don't match at all. They're not similar in the slightest. They're like, oh yeah, but this is all the stuff on my CV. And I'm like, yeah, but the job doesn't care. They want to know that you're more closely matched. And a lot of that we can do in just changing around some keywords. I'm not saying to anybody that they should be false. Definitely don't lie on your CV, especially as you go up in level of seniority. What I would say to you very loosely based upon skills is if you could learn it in a weekend with a Udemy course, you can kind of get away with it. But anything more than that, absolutely don't do it, because you're probably going to get caught out. The more niche the skill is.
We got it! We got it!
So now you've got your CV done, you've got your application planner sorted out. So what do we do after this? Well, really importantly, if you're a graduate and you're watching this, start practicing online tests for the love of all that is holy. Please! So many people fail online tests, not because they're stupid, but because they're unprepared and a little bit arrogant. I'll explain. So you're going to university to get a degree, and then you look at these, piffling, laughable, numerical, logical, and SJT tests, and you think, I'm no fool, I'm no mug, I could pass those easily. And then you fail, and it feels like somebody has punched you in the face with a breeze block. Now, the reason why you failed is not because you're stupid, it's just because you weren't used to it. It's kind of like going, I can ride a bicycle, so if there was a test to ride a unicycle, I'd pass. Probably not. They're similar, they're definitely not the same. A car is kind of the same to a horse in terms of it helps people get around, but they're pretty different, right? I thoroughly recommend you buy an online test provider. We now use Graduates First. I also like Assessment Day. I I've got to be honest, I've kind of gone off job test prep. I just feel like they got a bit greedy and now you can't do unlimited tests. And, you know, I had this recently. I had a client who joined with me for premium coaching and he has job test prep and he doesn't like it. It's nothing personal to them. I had a great relationship with them previously. I just feel like they're going down a bad path. I like Graduates First. It's really cheap. It's like 30 quid. I actually bought my account 4 years ago and it's still going. It's like unlimited access, always getting updated, wicked bit of kit. Really, really like it. Now, the reason why you want to do this versus free is that generally free is crap. Repeat after me. Free is crap when it comes to online tests, because either the online tests are really old or really easy. They're just not representative of what you're going to be going through. It's kind of like practicing GCSE mock papers for your A-level. Might give you the sense of comfort that you're going to do really well. GCSEs here are sort of secondary school exams for 16-year-olds and A-levels are university entrance exams. So whatever is comparable for you. Makes you feel better, but dude, you're in for a really rude, like Hulk smash style slap when you do the real thing. And inevitably, the other thing that catches people out is time. And some people are just not very good at particular types of tests. Logical is diagrammatic, numerical is based around numbers, and SJT is based around work situations. There are other types of tests. I tend to get people to concentrate on those three because verbal comes up less, brain teasers come up less. You know, you chop and change based upon what is relevant for you. On average, I used to get people to do 1 test a day for a month. And by the end, they should be getting at least 6 or 7 out of 10, close to the pass mark of 7 or 8 out of 10. Don't obsess about them. What you don't want to do is start to apply for roles where you have to sit online tests and not be ready, because you're going to fail, and this sort of starts this cascade of shame and fear and self-doubt. You want to be ready. It's okay if you're a little bit late, but just make sure that you're ready. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting the opportunity. And also, when you practice tests from a paid provider, it gives you an accurate reflection of where you're at. I'm not being funny, but 9 times out of 10, people are worse than they think they are. They're not better. Most people just don't have a real kind of sense of gauging where they're at. It's kind of like looking at something and guessing how many calories there are in it. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm always way under what it should be, not over. Right, I'm like, oh, that bit of triple chocolate gâteau cake, that looks like about 250 calories. And it's like 1,500.
On a typical day, I'll consume anywhere between 15 and 20,000 calories.
So bearing that in mind, make sure that you're practicing. Once you're ready, then you can start to send out your applications. Now, again, when I'm working with clients one-to-one, we tend to send out 3 to 5 high quality applications a week. Now, there's probably going to be people who are watching this and they're going, are you completely insane? What do you mean you send out 3 to 5 quality applications a week? I send out 30 to 50 applications a day. If you do that, they're one-click apply. Now, this comes all the way back to why did I say don't use LinkedIn, Indeed, AI generated one-click applications? Because if it's easy for you, it's easy for everyone else. So what's the problem with one-click apply from LinkedIn, Indeed, and even the new breed of AI-powered career software which make one application apply to 26 jobs? Now, on the face of it, it sounds super helpful, really easy, not so much work. It's kind of like...
You die! You suck at this game!
Wii Sports. Now, I don't know if you've ever played Wii Sports when it came out, because they had tennis and they had bowling, and it was sort of like the real thing, and they had golf as well. But it is nothing like the real thing. Me getting good at Wii bowling is not related at all to me getting good at bowling. Same for all the other sports, and it's exactly the same for this. And this has happened time and time again, and you will see this when people say I've applied for 1,000 jobs, 2,000 jobs, and so on and so forth. Now, 20 years ago, it was almost impossible to do that. Now, you could send out hundreds of resumes, you'd print them off and put them in an envelope. So it was theoretically possible to do that, but you couldn't send thousands of applications. It was very unlikely. Now it's much more likely that people will do that. And what tends to happen is people go nowhere, because if it's easy for you, it's easy for everybody else. And if it's easy for everybody else, it's hard for you. This is a really important rule of thumb or simple system to look at things. You think, wow, this is so easy. There's 100 people like you also doing the same thing. You're reasonably similar. Then it's really just a case of who's first. And it's really hard to be first, because LinkedIn, unless you want to work for LinkedIn, isn't going to be the ones employing you. Indeed isn't going to be the ones employing you. They are merely information aggregators. The same for a lot of these AI-powered application systems. That's why it's much more effective to go straight to the source, to the company itself. Now, not all companies do this. Some smaller companies may not. I personally would be more inclined to call them and apply for the job via an email if I could get it, because then I just know that I'm going to get in front of the actual person who's going to make a decision. Because what this makes me think of is sending thousands of cold emails to sell air conditioning, and I don't know if I'm actually getting in contact with people who need air conditioning, because maybe it never gets that hot where they live. It feels like I'm doing a lot, but it's not very targeted. So having the plan, having the careers website, and then going through and doing the applications is a much more effective way of doing things. And that's why we do 3 to 5 high quality applications a week, because I basically want to get a result in at least 1 or 2 in 5 of those applications, which seems like an extraordinary hit rate. What, 20 or 40% of your applications result in an interview or an online test? Yeah, because we sat there and we spent the time to craft a really good application. Now, writing applications, amending your CV, doing cover letters, writing answers to open questions is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it is something that you can use AI to do. Now, if you want me to do a separate video all about using AI to write applications, I will happily do that. What I would say to you is that it still takes me a reasonable amount of time. I'm somebody who's written a lot of applications for people. So on occasion, it's not something that I advertise, but regular customers of mine will reach out to me and say, look, I'm running out of time. Please, could you just write this application for me? It still takes me half an hour to do that, using AI, using all of my experience. So here's a couple of tips about using AI. Do not use one-shots or single prompts. You want to use a series of prompts. Now, a prompt isn't an instruction. So for example, if you said to ChatGPT, write me a cover letter for Goldman Sachs, it's probably not going to write a great cover letter. Now, I do recommend that you use a paid piece of software rather than a free piece of software, because you'll be able to access more functionality. And to the person who doesn't want to pay anything, they shouldn't be surprised that all of the stuff that they have is not very good. We're not talking about a huge amount of money. So for ChatGPT, for the kind of premium but not premium version, it's $20 a month. I use ChatGPT, and also I use a piece of software which is called Hemingway, which I really like because it helps me to shorten, simplify and reword stuff very quickly in a visual format. And I use these two things together. What I never do is just ask ChatGPT to do one thing and then copy and paste that into a document, because I know that it's not going to be suitable. AI-powered chatbots are really good at generating first drafts. They're really good at pulling that stuff together. And I understand how a lot of people are really not great at writing stuff. I still encourage you to learn the methodology. In Application Success Secrets, there is 6 parts to a killer cover letter. It's like a 1-page cheat sheet. I love systems, I love methods, I love learning how to do things, so then you can use the tools to leverage each individual part of that process. Please don't just randomly do stuff, because you know what, the chances are, if you're doing it and all those other people are doing it, your cover letters are going to be pretty much the same, because ChatGPT is not that random. You know, it's pulling from a pool of information. But if you're using a free piece of software and they're using a free piece of software and you're using the same thing, it's going to be pretty similar. And I've seen that through a number of iterations. So create the first iteration, follow a structure, follow a format, edit it, put your CV in there, put as much information about yourself, give it context. Try to tease out paragraph by paragraph. And I use Hemingway to make sure that the writing that I am presenting is simple and easy to understand. Now that's a really short way of looking at it, but bearing in mind that each application will take half an hour. And that's for me, somebody who's been doing it for over 10 years and also is reasonably proficient at using ChatGPT. I'm not sure if that's a real skill or not. But anyway, it's something that I've used over a period of time. Because what that then means is that you're not going to get a hit from all your applications, but you're going to learn pretty quickly how to do good, high quality applications, which is really important because the higher skilled the job that you're applying for, the less supply that there's going to be. So you want to make sure that you're getting pretty good at that thing so that when the golden opportunity arises, you're like, yes, I'm ready, I can do this. The other thing to bear in mind is that it's just less depressing. Now, if you're sitting there, and I have sat there before, I have sat there and I've used Indeed, I've used LinkedIn, and I literally haven't heard back from Greg's, McDonald's, KFC, just over and over again as a university graduate, just not hearing from anybody. And what does that do? It makes me feel like a piece of garbage. It makes me feel like I'm not good enough, makes me feel like I don't want to do this anymore. And it just has a really negative effect on my mental health. So I would rather approach things in a systematic way why I'm learning how to get better at a skill, because being good at applying for jobs is a skill. Being better at interviews is a skill. Being better at assessment centers is a skill. These are all things that we have to learn. And as part of learning those things, we have to fail to then get better, and then fail to get better, and fail to get better. And that's pretty much how we learn all skills. And we have a reputable source of information that we can learn from that helps us to get better at that skill. So that's pretty much everything that you need to get your first interview. I'm aware that I've talked for quite a long period of time. I'd love to hear from you if you want to hear part 2 of this video. It's something that I could talk about all day long, really going into the minutiae. I love sharing that with you. I hope that shines a little bit of light into the darkness. Don't forget, everything that I've spoken about can be downloaded for free in the link down in the description below. I wish you the best of luck. I'd love to hear from you in the comments where you're at and what you're doing right now, what brings you to this video. Good luck.